Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the CIPC, the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar on annual returns. I can personally guarantee you that you will not be disappointed with today's session. We have an expert on the field of annual returns, Advocate Krista Clocker, who is the Senior Manager of the Companies and Cooperative Unit. Ms. Ms. Clocker will be, Clocker, excuse me for that, will be giving us a presentation and will be taking questions that you are welcome to answer her. Advocate Clocker, can you please continue with your presentation? And welcome to the webinar today.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our customers. And thank you for allowing us to again run through annual returns. So I'm going to start. This will be about the third presentation in the last couple of months about annual returns. CIPC is going through an exercise as part of our education and awareness activities and in order to educate the public about annual returns. So, all right, with that, I'm going to dive straight in. All right, so what is annual return? So, annual returns, short and sweet, is basically it's the annual renewal of your business to conduct business. Please know that that is not a legal description. It's just an analogy in order to make it more understandable. So annual returns, just like you renew your car license once a year in order to have your car on the road, so you have to actually do it with annual returns for your business. So now what is annual returns? So annual returns is an annual filing of information with the CIPC in order for the CIPC to have the latest information relating to your business. And it's also like a little bit of a check to see what is your corporate information like? Is it still up to date? Your directors, your auditors, your address, your financial year end, your company name, etc. We also check that there is financial record keeping by either the filing of what we call an AFS or an FAS. We check your level of compliance with the Companies Act. We're also now adding beneficial owners. Later, a little bit on, that's a very new concept that is brought in, and I've got a few slides to explain what that is and why that is important. And then also, we also want to check over time, what's the operational information, the number of employees, were you active or dormant for the year before, what your main business activities, etc. So this information, and the key here is the information CIPC uses to execute various of our functions and objectives. And the CIPC, as for some later on the later slides, you will realize why the CIPC is there and what is our actually mandate and our purpose within the business environment. So let's dive quickly back in. Annual returns is your annual renewal. And it's an annual filing. So when do you file? You file once a year on the anniversary date of your business. Since the bulk of the businesses are currently companies on our registry, I'm just going to go through that. So the Act states 30 business days from the day after the anniversary date. So let's say your company's birthday is the 25th of September. Okay, it was registered on the 25th of September in 2023. It was born. Now, a year later, the first anniversary or birthday, if you want to call it that, depending on how you view your business as your baby or your child, or is it a partner in crime, then it's an anniversary date, is your first annual return will then become due the day after the 25th of September 2024, which then will be 26th of September. So then the system will open up the day after in order to allow you for filing for a period of 30 business days. Very important. You have to file your annual returns. As you can see, if you understand why there's annual returns, you can understand that it's important to file even though you were active or inactive within the economy. So even if you are dormant, you did not trade, you still want to use this as a business vehicle, you have to file your annual returns. Right. Now, the next question is, I know we're all very busy and we have got different aspects of our lives. So How is CIPC helping you to remember to file? Now, we actually issue what we call a reminder in the month that the annual return needs to be start being filed. So let's go back to your baby's birth date, the 25th of September. So September, at the beginning of September 2024, we will email and issue an SMS to the active directors on that we've got on the cell phone numbers that we have. Please, if your cell phone numbers and emails are outdated with the CID, you are not going to get it. So we will issue a reminder, say, hello, it's that time of the year. Please file your annual returns. The condition for you to receive that is that we need to have up-to-date information, right? So if we don't have the correct email address of the directors, then you will not receive it. So it is extremely important that the correct contact details of directors of companies and members of CCs are provided to the CIPC. Not your service provider, not your accountant, not your business partner, your own, because the responsibility to comply lies with each individual director. You cannot pass that on duty to another person. Okay. We only issue these reminders electronically via cell phone and email. Our registry of active companies is huge. We cannot post these letters, and we all know that the business environment is changing quite rapidly. Very few people actually have got post boxes these days or actually receive written communication. So it's only done via electronically. Right. So it's an annual filing. So other matters that need to be filed with annual returns or on an annual basis, as I mentioned, these companies and closed corporations have to comply with other requirements of the Companies Act. So what the Act, in the design of the Companies Act, they try to make it easier. So when you have this annual filing, you need to file additional information with that. So you can file some of these separate, but you only have to come in once a year to get all of these things done. That is your financial information, your AFS. If you got audited financials or must be audited, you file the AFS via the iXBRL system. If you're a smaller business, we want your FAS, which is basically the summary of who does what on your accounting information. Do you actually do stock taking? A little bit of financial information, not the data of what your turnover, etc. is, basically who does what. Then also your compliance checklist. We ask you, have you various compliance checklist questions that there is. Some may not be applicable, but we do ask to check where you are with that. Then the new thing is beneficial ownership. Beneficial ownership is mandatory in terms of the Companies Act and the General Companies Amendment Bill, Act, which changed a whole bunch of legislations. So you have to file that as well. What is going to happen in the near future, in the next couple of months, before you be able to file the annual returns, you will be required to file the beneficial ownership information. Again, I've got a few slides a little bit later as to what that is, so we'll get to that there. Right. Right. Do you pay a fee? Unfortunately, yes, there is a fee that you have to file with your annual returns. The reason for it, unfortunately, the CIPC is what we call a self-sufficient organization. Our funding does not come from central government. We collect our own fees in order to run the services that we are required in law to provide to the public and on behalf of government. So we do ask a fee. Most of the amendments on your companies do not carry a fee, like your address, your directorship, etc., because the whole idea was you come in once in a year, you pay for the annual return fee, and that should cover some of the other smaller changes. Okay. Please note, especially those that are the fee is not negotiable and or payable in installments. We get a lot of inquiries. Oh, can I negotiate? Oh, can I pay it off in installments? Unfortunately not. The Companies Act are very strict. You have to when filing, payment must happen together with filing of the information. Otherwise, it's an invalid filing and it still shows outstanding. Also, our act is very specific. It says CIPC may not waive or reduce any of its fees without the consent of the minister. And that's a whole administrative process on its own. Further, CIPC must adhere to the PFMA. Like all government institutions, we need to adhere to a specific code of conduct, how we manage our finances, and we are required to collect all fees that are due to us, failure of which CIPC may receive a qualified audit. So these are very strict. We have to collect the fees. We use it to run our systems in order to provide the access to these services that we manage on behalf of government. Once again, filing of information plus payment is a complete filing. We get a lot of people that make a deposit and think filing has occurred. I've been doing annual returns since my career started at CIPC, and that's almost 16 years ago. And still, we get people that make a deposit and thinking that filing has occurred. It is not. It's information that we need to receive on our electronic system plus the payment for that fee. If either one of them are not linked up, it's an incomplete filing in law. Now, the next question is there a penalty fee? Yes. So when you file outside of the 30 business days, there is a penalty fee that you'll be asked for. It's a small fee, and it's also based on the scalability of your business. So why is there a penalty fee? Right, so penalty fees is used as a tool to ensure timeous compliance with the law. So it is in trying, penalty fee is there to encourage good business behavior and timeous filing. And that's why it's late. How much is your penalty fee? Your penalty fee will depend on how big is the company, the higher the penalty fee value will be. So it's not like for small SMEs, where let's say your turnover is 1 million, then it's 50. You've got a 50 rand penalty. The bigger the company, the bigger that penalty fee actually gets. All right, why is the compliance important? Okay. Why is it important for CIPC to have the correct information? So basically, I'm going to get into our scope and what the purpose of the CIPC is. So CIPC is the custodian of all registered corporate information in South Africa, right? So we are the source registry of information. Public and government institutions uses our information to make decisions. So we need to be up to date in the business sector in order to know in order for that information to be accurately represented to, for example, Stats SA, research into the economy, government decision making, etc. So that's the importance of it. So, for example, government wants to know the size and status of the NPC sector. How many external companies are investing in South Africa? Is a specific company compliant in order to do business with? Is it legitimate? Who may contract on behalf of the company? So, and where do I find the business or to do business with? So I'm going to give a practical example. You're a small business owner. You want to export or make your services available in the overseas markets. Now you've got a prospective customer, even local, for example. That company, prospective business partner wants to know that you are the director of this company. What is going on with that company? So they will check against our source registry to check, yes, I'm doing business with the right person. Oh, this business is up to date with all its compliance. It's possibly a low, doesn't have a high risk for me to do business with it. The same with foreign investors. They want to know that our business environment is stable and is regulated in order to bring in foreign investment. If we've got a cowboy business environment, foreign investors are not going to bring their money into the economy because it poses a risk. And if that money doesn't come in, we don't have further opportunities for our local businesses to actually grow their own. So it's beneficial on all sides. So it's critical that we have the right information. Also, the CIPC has got a mandate to keep an up-to-date and effective register of all companies, close corporations, and cooperatives. So this also means in order to have this effective register, It means that those that are not doing business should be removed from the register. You can always be reinstated if you were doing business at the time of deregistration or have economic value. So, because as I said, government institutions say, oh, we've got a small business sector of 1 million small businesses because they used our data. If that's not the case, if a lot of them are dormant, are not trading, we can actually incur additional cost as government that's unnecessary because of that incorrect information. So yes, it's very important. Then also another thing is that these dormant companies and CCs, if they're not doing business, they pose a risk if they are not finally deregistered, because these inactive businesses can be used for money laundering and terror financing in fraud because they're not actively being used. So we need to take them off the registry. You can always, if your business is not doing business now, come register your business when you do have the business opportunity and register. If you were active and you had a bank account and you were deregistered because of annual returns and you were active at the time of deregistration, you can actually reinstate. So we are trying to put ensuring a reputable corporate environment by increasing compliance with the Companies Act, promoting a reputable and predictable business environment in South Africa. As I said, we want to promote foreign investments in order for them to start their businesses so that our local business can do businesses with that investment and then grow their own business and employ more people and sustain their communities. Our data is then also combined with different other sources of information. For example, Windeed. Windeed combines CIPC information, CIPC corporate information and director information with immovable properties. So we know which corporate entities actually own immovable property. Banks use it to determine the risk profile of their companies and close corporations that are their customers, and to make sure that they know who they are doing business with. The bank is not going to open up a bank account if you don't reflect as the active director on this company. The banks, as soon as they start seeing that you're going into annual deregistration or deregistered, they will stop the service because you are becoming a risk for them to provide credit, for example. The CIPC information is used during civil and criminal investigations. So let's say, for example, you did business with company A, and now you are in a legal dispute. You need to take them to court. Your attorney will come and check with CIPC. Will come and check with CIPC what is going on in order to prepare your documentation to fight for your rights. So the converse is also true. Criminal investigations, for example, the state capture inquiries. We get a lot of requests from the NPA for disclosure of corporate information to help them to investigate state capture or any other criminal matter where companies are actually involved. In order to make those civil and criminal investigations and proceedings successful, CIPC need to be up to date. So I'm just going to take a quick breath, and then I'm going to start into the consequences of non-compliance with annual returns. So we have dealt with it's an annual filing. We've dealt with why CIPC needs up-to-date information. We have dealt with penalty fees, why it's there, the fees. Now what happens, the question is, what happens if I do not comply? Even if I'm inactive, if I do not file annual returns. So once you have got 2 successive annual returns outstanding, our systems will automatically place this company into deregistration for non-compliance with annual returns. How can you stop that? Make sure that your annual returns are up to date. So you're placed now in what we call an annual return deregistration, right? You can still file your annual returns while in that status. You can file up until the point you're finally deregistered. But what happens now if you are on annual return deregistration? Because that's a risk indicator to your business partners, to your service providers, that this company's legal personality may be removed very shortly. it becomes a risk to do business with you while in that status. So your banks, your service providers, or customers may require the company or close corporation to file annual returns for them to continue doing business with you. So they can actually stop and say, okay, go sort out your compliance because you're becoming a risk for me. Because if you're finally deregistered, how am I supposed to do business with that entity? So there are consequences. The banks, especially, they can freeze bank accounts. The banks will usually issue reminders beforehand to warn you that you need to bring your matters up to date. If you continue to be non-compliant with annual returns, you are placed in final deregistration. Once final deregistered, your legal personality, that business, ceases to exist in law. Therefore, that business cannot trade, cannot do business because it does not exist. And it may expose the directors for direct liability. So, in terms of the Companies Act, directors can be held liable for the actions or inactions of their companies during their office period. So, for example, this is just an example. A creditor, if you allow your business to be finally deregistered and you've got a creditor, so the company will provide, while it's still alive, will provide protection for the directors and the shareholders. It's called limited liability from creditors. If that limited liability bubble is no longer there, which happens at final deregistration, your credit provider can go directly for the director for the outstanding debts of that business. So final deregistration also exposes the directors to personal liability. So there is severe consequences to this. So some of them I've already addressed. There's just a visual presentation of it. Your business ceases to exist. You loses the benefit of being a registered business, perpetual existence, and limited liability. Directors can be held personally liable for all the debts. The bank may freeze your bank account. Your service providers can stop doing business with you, and creditors may refuse to pay you. Because remember, they pay the business, not you as the director. They have a contract and a duty towards the business. So even though these are the consequences, so let's say you were in business at the time of it being deregistered or has economic value like shares, intellectual property rights, etc., then you can apply for reinstatement to come back onto the registry. So that is the consequence. As you can see, these things have got severe consequences. So you need to be up to date and make sure that you are compliant in this area. Next question now. Now you understand why we have it. What's the purpose of this? How do I file my annual returns? Please go to this video. I'm not going to play this video. It is actually a short summary, very informative video of how to comply and file annual returns. We advise the small business community to please use our BizPortal platform, www.bizportal.gov.za, to file their annual returns. It's the quickest mechanism, it's the most more streamlined for the businessman that deals with his own affairs. So you've got filing options, BizPortal, which is the quickest, and we encourage all SMMEs to actually use the BizPortal option. There's less hassles. You pay with your bank card. There's no deposits in advance that is not allocated correctly. It's a much more streamlined process on the BizPortal. You can do e-services. Those are predominantly for the intermediaries. And then, of course, the self-service centers. Please note, we do not accept manual filings due to the volumes of filings that we receive in a month, in a year. It's not possible for us to capture and process that information. Remember, it's not about the document that we receive. It's the information in that document that's important. And that's why you file it electronically, that it's all immediately available on the system. So now here's the key little thing, beneficial ownership. That's a key thing that's coming about that even small businesses have to comply with. I'm going to quickly run through what this is. It's going to be very, very, very basic and simplistic. Please, follow us on YouTube. There are webinars specifically on beneficial ownership and how it works, where it comes from, etc. Please refer it for more information and equip yourself with that information. Right, so beneficial ownership information is required to be filed by the general laws Anti-Money Laundering and Combating Terrorism Financing Amendment Act of 2022. In terms of that act, as well as, please note that trusts, a lot of corporate, even with SARS, has got a duty now to collect beneficial ownership information. We as the CIPC have been mandated to request companies to file that information with the CIPC, with us. So what is it? Very short and sweet. It is basically, my apologies for that. Very short and sweet, it is who wags the dog. What I mean by that is that who is the ultimate person, natural person, that makes the decisions and influences the conduct of the business. It may not necessarily be the direct shareholder, for example, because the shareholder may be another company, which is a subsidiary, and then that subsidiary company shares is owned in a trust, and then the beneficial owners of the trust is another corporate entity. So it can become very complex. So it's the ultimate who wags the dog, who influences the decisions. So it's the ability to otherwise materially influence the management of the company. Beneficial ownership in respect of a company. I'm going to read this. My apologies. Means an individual who directly or indirectly ultimately owns the company or exercises effective control of that company, including through the holding of beneficial interest in the securities, exercise and control of exercise of voting rights, the right or control of the right to appoint and remove directors. The ability to exercise control through a chain of ownership of a juristic person other than a holding company, a body of persons corporate or unincorporated, a person acting on behalf of a partnership, a person acting in pursuance of a trust or agreement. So you can file. Currently, it's not linked up to the annual return per se. So you need to go that, and it's currently not linked onto the BIS portal. We are working to link up the systems, so it's across the different platforms. So unfortunately, you will have to go for e-services, and then you file it under the tab beneficial ownership. Right, so that is beneficial ownership. Again, we are not going to answer beneficial ownership questions on this webinar. Please refer to the previous webinar specifically to this topic. Right, so general information to remember on annual returns. Contact details, contact details, contact details. I cannot stress that enough. We cannot contact the directors and the companies and the closed corporations if we do not have the correct contact details, right? How do you do that? Check your latest information submitted to the CIPC, your own records, to confirm what has been submitted to the CIPC and that we've got the right information. Contact details are regarded as personal information and therefore is not displayed on our electronic and paper-based disclosures. Only selected CIPC has got access to it, so it's not generally disclosed or even internally used because it's personal information. If you do not get your annual return, so this is key, if you do not get your annual return reminder, it means that we don't have your contact details, right? That's the first thing. If your question is, but I don't get a reminder, go check. Maybe you do not reflect as the director and you believe that you are, or we don't have your correct contact details. So you need to go check that out. So the next question is, how do you stay in the know? Please follow. I'm sitting in an open office. My apologies for that. Follow CIPC on any of our social media platforms. Please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Sorry, my apologies, I can't remember all of them. Please follow us on those social media platforms. We issue regular daily informations on companies and intellectual property rights, how our services work, and breaking news in those areas. Refer to the CIPC website regularly for information. Check your company and closed corporation status regularly. If you're in doubt where you are, check it out. Go to www.bizportal.gov.za, log in, go to Biz Profile, and you will check it there. Please also go through our online director training course. It's free of charge. It's actually very nice. It's got questions you can answer. It's interactive. It's educational. And it's also
I
test your
think
own
we have.
knowledge. And it's very instructional. And I think I'm almost done. So please keep your welcoming letter, your registration certificate, all your filing confirmations, your financial records, minutes of meeting, share registers in a single spot for easy access. Keeping the company records is the duties of the company through its directors, not the CIPC. Right? This is just a quick general reminder. Directors and members will always be liable even after final deregistration. You can reinstate provided there was economic value. Upon final deregistration, the name of your business becomes available for reservation by another company or customer or close corporation or cooperative. In such a case, in your reinstate, and there's now duplicate names, you have got the same name as the company that came in after you, you need to refer the matter to the company's tribunal to ensure who's got the strongest right to the name. So thank you very much. That was quite a mouthful. I hope you found that quite insightful and assist you to comply and understand why you are complying with annual returns. Thank you very much.
Well, Krista, that was really very informative. Thank you. I always learned, always pick up things that I never knew when you present. Thank you so much for that. Um, we're going to ask questions at the end of the presentations. I see there's a few questions that is on the chat, and our officials are answering those questions. But I'm going to go on to SARS presentation. We have a young lady from SARS that will be presenting for us. Her name is Mumpo Motsomema. She will be talking to us and going through a presentation of SARS, just so that we can have some clarity on the difference of annual returns and SARS. Okay, Mumpo, you are on. You can start presenting. Okay, just give her a few seconds. I think she's trying to log on. She can put her present. Okay, there you are, Mumpo. Okay, I have the SARS presentation. Mumpo, are you audible? Can you please unmute yourself? Okay. Mumpo, are you on your online? Oh, those gremlins, those technology gremlins are on our site again, on our network again. That is not good. Okay, just give us a few seconds. You know what? While we are trying to get Mumpo online, Krista, would you be able to answer just a few questions for us while we try to unmute her or try to get her online, please?
Of course, more than welcome to. Let's not, time is one of the most valuable commodities that we actually have today. So let's not waste everybody's time while Mpo sets herself up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Krista. Let's look at the questions that we have. Okay. I'm okay. This is a BO question. I'm going to read it out. If we are not going to entertain this question, then we can just tell the client to log a query on our website. But Karan has a question on BO. Struggling to get my OTP for BO filing. I have contacted the online query, but have heard nothing. Have not been able to file any BO reports because of this. Is there any advice you can offer her, Krista?
Unfortunately, no. The OTPs are sent, and there may be multiple reasons for it. So, unfortunately, we've got a dedicated team on the beneficial ownership ticketing system that does deal with it. What I can just say, and it's being dealt with on a daily basis. Please just make sure that you've logged it correctly. Beneficial ownership goes to if you go to the main options on the ticketing system to corporate legal services, and then from there you will select beneficial ownership. It should have been on. It also depends on when the ticket was locked. Without going into much detail, that's the only advice that I can give at the moment.
Thank you for that. I see Toko wanted to know whether cooperatives file annual returns. No, they do not file annual returns as yet. Here's another questions on BO and cooperatives. Do cooperatives need to file BO? Would
At
you
the
be able
moment,
to?
it's only companies and closed corporations, but please log a ticket for the beneficial ownership to do double check that. The beneficial ownership does not reside under my area of administration, but just log a ticket and they will advise or let you know. They will probably explain to you why not, if that's not done yet, or when it's going to come online. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see the next question. Can someone register you on a company you're not knowing? Okay, I think he means that he is unaware that someone registered him on a company. A pastor asked for our ID documents at church now, and I found out that I have a business, and I do not know that I'm a director. Also, the pastor is a director, my girlfriend is a secretary. How can I make sure that I'm really a director, and how can I withdraw my name?
Okay. Please log a ticket for the directorship amendment unit for that. They will advise you to this. Just to reiterate, the purpose of this webinar is annual returns and tax obligations, and that's the focus. And I would like us to keep to that focus because there seems to be confusion about annual returns, the compliance aspect of annual returns, and the tax obligations that companies have. So I would like to keep to that. Anything else, please log a ticket on our online ticketing system. If you have logged a ticket and you have not received a response, or the response was not satisfactory, on our website there is an escalation procedure, what you can follow for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Krista. Okay, the next question is, good morning. If your year end is February and your CIPC anniversary date is October, which turnover for which year do you use to submit your annual returns?
The regulations clearly state you use the latest approved financials. So remember, so that's the first thing that you have to know. The requirements for annual return states the latest approved. Okay. Then you also have to note if your financial year end is February, you have got 6 months to comply with the preparation and audit of your financials. Therefore, February, March,
Okay.
April, June, July, August, September. By the end of September,